So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Mr. Ian Wallace.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. There you go.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
Raise your hand if you'd like to make money in property. Raise your hand if you'd like to pay less tax. That's good, I'm in the right room. Thank you very much. My name is Ian Wallace, property investor and tax strategist, author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, Legally Avoid Property Taxes. Thank you, Jamie, for the initial plug. A little bit about me. Good news for you is you've only got 20 minutes of me tonight, so for those of you who've seen me before, I've changed some of the jokes. For those of you that haven't, you've only got 20 minutes of it. So I bought my first investment property back in 2006. So those of you who are investing in property then remember the good days, yeah? No income, no job, you could still get a buy-to-let mortgage. House prices were doing this. It didn't really matter what was going on. Who cared about yield? My mother-in-law could probably have made money in a buy-to-let mortgage back in 2006. I had an accounting practice which I sold in 2007. That's not because I had a crystal ball and I could see the economic crisis coming. I had a business partner who could spend it faster than I could earn it. So therefore we had, those who've been in business partnerships will know you've got the difference between partnerships, between profits and drawings. We had a bit of a spat over profit share. I was 50 that year. I said, look, if you want the train so you can have it, I'm off. I then had an adult gap year, did the things I wanted to do when I finished university, but couldn't because Dad wanted me to go off and get a job. So now Dad was dead, bless him, so I went off and had a year wandering around and I bought a house in Switzerland. Now, all the training you'll get will tell you you do not buy off-plan, offshore or offshore overseas, and certainly not in a country where they don't speak English. But it didn't stop me. We've got a house in Switzerland, and to be fair, the winter rentals pay for the skiing. By 2010 I got to 6 properties. Who here's read Rich Dad Poor Dad? Robert Kiyosaki. Most of you, yeah? In that case you'll know the difference between an asset and a liability. I had 3 assets and I had 3 liabilities, so I actually wasn't doing that well in property, so I didn't need it to change. It was about this time I was bombarded with emails from these guys called Rob and Mark. Now this next slide is not, where is it? Okay, quite safe. So there was I, by this stage, so I used to live in St Albans in Hertfordshire, but by this stage we'd moved up to the northeast. Now why the northeast, you may well ask, and I have to say I sometimes ask that myself, but I was looking to move to the Lake District, sort of enjoy the hills up there. For then I said, well, you know, what about the northeast? And I said, well, there's one problem with the northeast. She said, what's that? I said, well, your mother lives there. She said, well, I know your mother lives there, but she's not very well, she's in her 80s. It would really be good if we could be quite close to look after her. So we agreed that we'd move relatively close enough that I didn't have to see her every day, but close enough that Fenella could if she wanted to. We have a very good arrangement there. So this next slide is not to impress upon you, not to impress you, but more to impress upon you that if you, like me, take action, your life can change in property. Because back in 2010, I had 3 assets and 3 liabilities. So I met these guys, Rob and Mark, and I went mad. Here we are now, 23 properties with a reasonable amount of equity, passive income from rental income. We do deal packaging investors up in the northeast where we get between 10 and 14% yield. We've got a niche property and tax trading practice, and we've got strategies to avoid some serious amounts of tax. And like the Belgian lager, we are reassuringly expensive. This is the Amazon bestseller, Legally Avoid Property Taxes. If you can't afford that, go to ianwallace.com. There's 70 questions there that you can answer, and they will help you save a bit of tax. This is now my neighbour. This is the Duke of Northumberland. That's Alnwick Castle, where they filmed Harry Potter and various other films. They actually did a winter special of Downton Abbey, which got Fenella very excited. But that's my neighbour. This is my office January 15. This will be my office January 2016. Our house is down that black run there, up over the other side, a couple more valleys, and there you get to that. Most accountants in January are running around like headless chickens trying to get tax returns done. I'm on the piste. So, a couple of words before we get going. Tax avoidance. There is nothing wrong at all with tax avoidance. Please, please, please don't get browbeaten by what you read in the papers. As far as I'm concerned, as far as the revenue, well, as far as there's a tax case that says that you do not have to legally arrange your tax affairs to pay as much tax as possible. The opposite of that is you arrange your affairs to pay as little tax as possible. So that's what we're going to do. It's game on as far as I'm concerned. Your job is to sail as close to wind without capsizing. What we're going to chat about today is not illegal, it's all good tax planning stuff. Evasion, however, is illegal. It's against the law. It can find you possibly getting 3 square meals a day, which doesn't look particularly good on the CV. Now, if you're my age, you might remember a guy called Lester Piggott. He went to jail for tax evasion. Again, if you're my age, you might remember a guy called Ken Dodd.
Yes.
He was also tried for tax evasion and was acquitted. But after that, we know that there were 2 new Diddy men, Diddy Pay and Diddy Health. HMRC, these are the Muppets. If you've ever had to speak to them, you'll know why they are Muppets. But to be fair, they are not completely stupid. Okay, so if you've bought a property, then you need to tell HMRC you bought it, and you need to submit a tax return. They actually check land registry records to see who's buying property, and therefore cross-check it back to your tax return. So please don't think you can evade tax because HMRC will find you. Okay, so if you say, for example, you bought a house that you intend to sell on for a profit, okay, but you try and go down the capital gains tax route, HMRC will say, hang on a minute, you bought that with the intention of flipping it on, you're trading property, you're not investing in property, and therefore they could make life particularly unpleasant. So, what's George up to? Bless him. I was just telling Steve earlier, the guys who run the Excel trade show phoned me up this week and said, are you going to take a stand at next year's event? And I said, no need to at the moment, we're getting plenty of inquiries thanks to Mr. Osborne. Okay, if you can't afford the book, go to the website, Proven Strategies to Avoid Inheritance Tax, that's a free ebook there for you. Here he is, this is the head of my marketing department. I thought he did a pretty good job back in July rearranging the rule book. I was driving south last week and he did an even better job at rearranging the rule book and helping me by sticking 3% on buy-to-let properties. So I thought we actually elected a Conservative government, but I'm beginning to wonder whether we actually did or not, but never mind. So he's changed the rules on loan interest. Yeah. At the moment, any loan interest that you incur, you can deduct in full from your rental profits. That's going to be changed because he's removed the higher rate tax rate from that, and we'll go through an example later on. He's changed the tax on dividends. Yet another stealth tax. He's added fuel, bless him, to the debate, should I use a limited company? And the answer everyone knows who's seen me speak before is, it depends. So, old rules, we're going to make a profit of 35k, so we've got a salary of 35k, we're going to have some rental income of £8,000, which is £14,000 of income, £2,000 expenses, £4,000 loan interest. At the moment we can earn £11,000 before income tax comes into play, so all things being equal, we'll pay tax at basic rate, and we've got a tax bill of £7,400. When these rules come into place in full, what's going to happen now is that okay, right, so now the £4,000 interest is not deducted, so his rental income is now going to be £12,000, 14 less 2. That is then taxed at the normal rates of income tax, and then you get tax relief at the higher rate of tax. So what's going to happen there is that somebody who is at a normal basic rate taxpayer at the moment, in 4 years' time, will become a higher rate taxpayer simply through the change of the rule changes. Okay, that's quite important. These don't come in full until it was 4 years' time from now. But they're going to fade it in, so you're going to get 25%, 50%, 75%, then 100%. Okay. So, what can we do regarding loan interest? Well, it may not impact. If you're a basic rate taxpayer, there may be nothing further you need to do because you're still going to pay tax at 20%. We could look at incorporation. We could turn these houses we've got and put them into a limited company. I suspect that's what George Osborne wants us all to do. Yeah, 2 reasons really. One is it's much easier to police limited companies and see what's going on. And secondly, it puts an end to interest-free cash. Yeah, where you buy a property, it goes up in value, you remortgage it, get a load of cash out tax-free. So if you incorporate, then obviously that's the end to that little one. We can look at loading expenses. It could be that we manage our own portfolio at the moment. Yeah? If you do that, you're unpaid. You're collecting rent for free and doing all the work yourself. So if we set up a management company, we can then charge for your time back to you as landlords, and then get a deduction in your accounts. You may want to consider changes to your portfolio. Yeah, you're all experienced property investors, but so we all know that you don't make money from the fluffy chocolate boxes and the new builds. Yeah, so maybe we could start looking at buying distressed stock in different areas that we're maybe not familiar with at the moment. But maybe we could buy distressed stock, get additional costs which will be in the forms of repairs and that sort of thing. Therefore, we're creating a loss that we can offset against the other bigger profits that we're making within our portfolio. We can look at income splitting. It could be that you're holding a portfolio all in your own name, but your wife's got no income at all, so maybe we could look at splitting income that way. Yeah. You could put the rent up. Yeah. Now what George Osborne, bless him, doesn't seem to have thought about is that landlords are in business to make money. Yeah? So therefore they may consider having to put the rent up simply to cover their costs. Now I appreciate a lot of that will depend on the area you're operating in. We just put a rent up in St Albans, that's been doing quite nicely. Further north it might be a bit of a struggle, but there's other things that we can do to make sure we're not paying too much income tax. You could consider selling. Now again, that's what George wants you to do, because that will then put a load of stock into the market. Yeah? Ppn, or Progressive will tell you that unless you really have to, you're not necessarily going to want to sell your portfolio. Okay? I would suggest that there's going to be an awful lot of people who maybe have got to 55, drawn down a chunk of change out of their pension pot, as they're encouraged to by George and the government, decided they're going to buy a buy-to-let property, and all of a sudden the goalposts have moved and it's not such a good idea after all. So they may think, sorry, I've tried buy-to-let, I don't understand it, I'm losing money, I'm going to sell. Yeah, so start preparing yourself now for when that flood comes on, because it will happen. Yeah, not everybody takes the time like you've done on a Wednesday night to come out and learn about property. Yeah, they read a bit about it in the daily, I won't say which paper, they'll read a bit about it in a number of dailies and think that's the way to go, but it isn't necessarily. So they're therefore, because they're not educated, they just think, oh my God, it's far too much like hard work, I'm going to bail out. So what's he done with dividends? Well, basically it's a stealth tax for 2016-17. Now, at the moment, you can take nearly 30 grand out of a company, effectively tax-free, because it comes with the tax credit of basic rate tax. He's getting rid of that, and from now on, everybody, whether you're George Osborne, Ian Wallace, or whoever, can take out 5 grand tax-free. Thereafter, you'll pay tax at 7.5% if you're a basic rate taxpayer, and the different rates up there. So be, what I said here, be more streetwise with your expenditure. Think about what expenditure within your limited company you can load. Now the beauty of having a limited company is that if done properly, you can meet all sorts of expenses from the company that are of a personal nature. Now, back in 2001, my company paid for me to go to Australia to see England win the Rugby World Cup. How on earth did I do that, you may well ask? Well, if you pay me enough silver, I'll tell you how to do it, but it's all about making sure that the paperwork is correct. Yes, there's a benefit in kind in doing that, but it's far better for my company to pay for me to go to Australia than for me to take all that money out and then go to Australia out of tax income. Look at your shareholdings. Have you got a company that maybe has got 99 shares owned by you, 1 by your wife, so you can protect the assets in case you get divorced? Or is it the case that you've got all the shares in the company and maybe you should be getting your wife involved? Have you got teenage kids over 18 who you could potentially get involved within this company? Now you don't have to give them voting shares. Voting shares are the shares that control the company. You can maybe give them non-voting B shares and take 5 grand out each year for them. You could consider emptying the pot. Those of you who've got a limited company at the moment, it may be that you've got loads of undrawn profits in there because your accountant's saying don't take more than 30k out, and that's sound advice, but it may be you could empty the pot in 2015-16 before the new rules come in. So is added fuel to the should I have a limited company debate? And the answer is ever is it depends. So take stock of where you are. It's not a global panacea just to pile everything into a limited company. Yeah, we were working with somebody today. He's got the old base rate plus 1% mortgages. He's got about half a dozen of those. So there's no way that he would want to incorporate because he'd have to move away from those very good rates. What's the bigger picture? What is it that you're actually trying to achieve? Yeah, why did you go into property? Traditionally, the route was you go in as an individual, and then maybe later on you look at incorporation. Stamp duty, land tax. Until the other day, they only had one exclamation mark. That's now got 3. Okay. If you've got a portfolio of, say, 10 properties, we can look at incorporating those and rolling those into a limited company. There's 3 issues, or 3 challenges with putting it into a limited company. One is stamp duty, land tax. The other is capital gains tax, and the third one is lending. Okay. Lending, if you've got a reasonable portfolio, you're in a position where you can go to a bank and say, look guys, I've got 10 houses, at the moment they're all on 10 individual mortgages, I'd like to have those on one large mortgage, will you accept? The fact you've been doing it for a long time, they'll have far more confidence in you as an individual and therefore be prepared to help you. Finance, as we just touched on, capital gains tax, that's the bugger. Yeah, you bought a house for £100,000 10 years ago, because it's not in the northwest or the northeast, it's actually gone up in value. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the northeast. I actually love it because the yield up there is fantastic, but the capital growth isn't quite what you can get in London, I have to say. But you could potentially be sitting on massive capital gains tax. So you've got an issue to consider. Do I suffer tax now at 28%, get it into a limited company, and that offers far greater planning opportunity in terms of protecting your wealth, or is it a case that I'll leave as they are? If you've got more than 10, you can get what's called incorporation tax relief, and that's where you take your entire portfolio, fold it into a limited company in exchange for shares, and Mr. Osborne, bless you, doesn't charge you capital gains tax. Now, for those of you who've got anoraks, there's a tax case called Ramsey, and she was a lady who got a limited amount of income from her property portfolio. She claimed incorporation tax relief. The tribunal said no, you can't have it. It went to the next level tribunal, and then it was accepted. So a lot of people out at the moment are hanging their hats on Ramsey and saying, go for incorporation tax relief, you've got no problems at all. I suspect HMRC are looking for some poor innocent taxpayer to go for incorporation tax relief with a couple of houses where he's also earning a vast amount of income, and the revenue will challenge it, and they will get Ramsey overturned. Yeah, within the tax manuals at the moment, it makes reference to Ramsey and tells them to be aware of it and what to look out for. So if your accountant says, or you may have even suggested it, but if you've got more than 10, have a chat with him and say, how about incorporation tax relief? Or could you even consider booking a consult with me? Yeah.
So those 10 properties, they all have in the same person's name, or they're split between different family members?
They need to be. So if you've got mum and dad, yeah, the mum and dad can take those 10 houses, fold them into another company.
What about a relatively highly levered, but also high income generating portfolio?
Well, again, you've got. I think you need to consider what's the level of income that you're getting, yeah, compared to the restrictions on what you're going to get in terms of mortgage tax relief. Yeah, it may be that it's high income because you haven't got much debt. Yeah. So what you could consider is continue to pay down that debt, and then the interest impact will be less.
It's quite highly levered, 50, 55, 65%.
Yeah, well, it's again, diagnosis, prognosis of that diagnosis is malpractice, so you just need to have a look at it and see where you are. Yeah, the other benefit of incorporation is that you've got far better planning opportunities in terms of protecting the wealth that you're creating. Okay? You're out there buying houses, the expectation they're going to go up in value. But when you go bang, HMRC will take a flat 45% of that above £325,000. Yeah. If you've got them in a limited company, there's all sorts of planning opportunities that you can use there to protect that. So, just a quick recap, and then I think we're going to questions. Quick word about accountants. Please choose them wisely. How are we in for time, Jamie? Are we all right?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Choose wisely. They should be excellent leverage of your time. Yeah? If you want to be an accountant, you've trained for one. But some of them will process what they give you. What you give them even. Okay? So you can give them a bag of receipts and they'll just process it. They won't necessarily ask key questions like how many networking events have you been to tonight? Yeah? How much have you invested in yourself as a property investor? Okay. So please do not go to a general practitioner. I wouldn't go to a dentist to get my heart looked at, and I certainly wouldn't go to a liver surgeon to get my teeth looked at. Yeah? So go to somebody who invests in property. Ask them, do you invest in property? If they say yes, the chances are they'll know some of the stuff we've been talking about today, and they'll know what you can claim and what you can't. Goes with every profession, whether it's your solicitor, your IFA or whatever, but appoint somebody you know, like and trust. Yeah? So you can either share a beer with them, you can have a laugh with them. It's not a case of going to see the bank manager when you're going to see your accountant or your IFA. Agree a fixed fee in advance. The days of the meter flying round and you rewarding my inefficiency have long since gone. So agree a fixed fee up front so you know exactly what it's going to cost you. And ask them, can you demonstrate that you will save me at least what you're going to charge me in tax? If the answer is no, then you've got the wrong accountant. There are an awful lot of accountants out there who are what I call undercover agents for HMRC. Yeah, they seem to feel that their job they seem to feel that their job is to make you pay as much tax as possible, not as little tax as possible. Yeah, we picked up a client last year who'd been investing in property for over 10 years, and she'd invested a serious amount of money with Progressive. And her accountant said, well, you can't have that because it's education. She said, yes, I can. I've been investing in property for a number of years. He said, no, you can't. It's education. Now, the rules with education are fairly clear. When you first learn a new trade, yeah, those costs are not tax deductible. Okay? But once you've built on that knowledge, by maybe buying a couple of books, maybe going to a couple of networking events, which you suffer the cost personally, any costs building on that are building on your education. So therefore, you can claim those costs as a deduction. So for those of you, there's an awful lot of new faces tonight, which is great. This may be your first networking event. Okay? Suffer the cost personally, and you're not yet investing in property. So write down a couple of costs that you've incurred, maybe buy Jamie's book, certainly buy my book. Then you've got enough to sort of arm yourself with a limited amount of property knowledge. From then on, you're building on it. Now this girl, bless her, she'd been investing in over 10 years, and her accountant said, no, you can't have it. Okay, so there are people out there who do not work for you. Remember, you're the one who pays the bill. If you want it to go in education costs, stick it in there and change accountant. But above all, see it's an investment, not a cost. And what do I mean by that? Well, my mother-in-law, bless her, up in the northeast, has a very, very noisy central heating system, and it's constantly like this all the time. So she phones up the gas man, he comes out, opens up his large toolbox, smacks it once with a hammer. Instant silence. Fantastic, says Mutti. That's what we call it. Don't ask me why, but we do. Fantastic, she says, you must send me your bill. So the following day a bill arrives, fixing noisy central heating system, £500. Somewhat outraged, she picked the phone up and said, that's outrageous, you must send me an amended bill. Certainly, madam, said the plumber. The following day a bill arrived. Fixing central heating system, £1. Knowing where to hit central heating system, £499, fee £500. Professional time can be expensive, but it's an investment, yeah? If I can save you 150, 200 grand of income tax, inheritance tax or whatever, then the fee we're going to charge you should pale into insignificance. So not just me, any accountancy, it's an investment, not a cost. Right, so that was a quick overview of what's been going on. It's very, very difficult at the moment because it's still quite fluid, because the budgetary changes haven't yet been enacted. The 3% hike last week has rather sort of queered the pitch somewhat, but again, we don't know whether it's going to work if you've got 15 or whether you've got a limited company, because they haven't yet made it clear. So it's all a bit fluid. So the advice at the moment is given what we've read in the press and what we've read in the red books and that. So Jamie, how long have we got time-wise?
I've got 5 minutes for some questions.
Excellent, good. Right, who's going to go first? Graham, Jamie, did you not put your hand up? You answered it.
You answered one of those now.
Okay, good. Right.
I'm Ben.
You knew Ben?
I was wondering, he hasn't just forgotten that people can set up a limited company and move their stuff into it. You don't think that he'll just wait a bit and then say, oh, actually applies to that too? Is that where the 15 criteria comes in?
He's a, I'll choose my words carefully, he's a very cunning chancellor. Yeah? He's forcing us to go down into a limited company, and you know what, maybe further on down the line he may do something else to attack property investors who are putting it into a limited company. Okay? My hope is that he's getting all the pain out of the way now. So in 3 or 4 years' time, when we've all forgotten about this, and we've been wiped out by the Iraqis or whatever, yeah, this will have disappeared, right? But he's very cunning. He's one of the things.
Sorry, when you say disappeared, do you mean he'll reverse it?
No, he will hope that we've forgotten about the pain that he's inflicted now.
Right.
Okay, but he may well think, well, hang on a minute, they've all got incorporated. What can I do to get more money out of those who've incorporated, who've got a property company? Okay, now that's quite hard to police, yeah, and pretty hard to enforce because you then got into definitions. In a property investment company, you could go off and start trading in something completely different, and therefore, and I think politically that would be very, very difficult. A to get enacted, and B to enforce. So I think this is probably the work, the end of it. Yeah, but he knows that everybody's looking to incorporate. He knows that people are therefore going to pay capital gains tax. Yeah. Now, if you sell a house on the 4th of April 2016, you'll pay your capital gains tax 31st of January 2017, and that is in place at the moment. Okay. If you sell a house on the 6th of April 2019, you'll pay your capital gains tax 30 days later. Yeah, all right. So he knows we've got to go and incorporate, and he knows I'm going to pick up some corporate capital gains tax. So what can he do to fill his coffers quicker? The answer is, if you're an investor, you'll pay within 30 days. Okay. So 2018-19 is the last year that you can sell a property and pay your capital gains tax through self-assessment following January.
What other vehicles are available other than limited companies?
In terms of
Tax efficiency.
well, you've got a limited liability partnership. Yeah. For me, they don't really work simply because the profit. If you've got Ian Wallace and Ian Wallace Limited in a limited liability partnership, I will still be taxed on those profits that are in there. Yeah. The limited liability, the limited company is best because you're going to pay corporation tax on those profits at 20%. Okay. If you've got a limited liability partnership in which you're a partner, you'll pay, no matter what profit you make, you'll pay tax at your higher rate. So you'll take it up through 20, 40, 45%.
So that's the most.
So for me, it's the most
choice, or is there,
sorry?
Is that the only choice of efficient vehicle, or are there other ones out there?
Well, for me, that's unless Shimon's got any additional to throw.
Yes, Yanni, so from what you've been saying, right, so for somebody actually just starting out in property investment who
Yeah.
has a goal to grow a portfolio, is the limited company route the best route you advise in tax efficiency?
Yeah. I mean, if you'd come to me before the budget, I'd have said, well, it depends what you want to try to achieve. Okay, now simply because of the interest tax relief, I would incorporate straight away. Okay. I mean, the biggest problem, or the biggest barrier to going through a limited company used to be the fact you couldn't get finance. Yeah, it used to be about 65% loan to value, and it was always capital repayment. Yeah, there are banks out there now who are quite happy to do buy-to-let finance to newly formed limited companies. Yeah,
They still want personal guarantees. Sorry, Peter.
I just heard the voice. Yeah. Well, again, it depends what you're borrowing, what you're looking at. I mean, the guy who introduced me to Metro Bank, they just formed a new company. He just bought his first property, and they were quite happy to get it all set up. Another client has made contact with them. They seem happier to refinance existing portfolios where you've already got a regular income coming in, there's tenancy agreements in place, than people starting out. But I said the first person to put it onto Metro was a brand new buy-to-let investor. One last question, I think. Yeah.
Do you think there could be any possibility of a legal challenge of you being taxed on your turnover as opposed to your profits? As with other, say for instance, as with other sole traders, they're taxed on their profit, not their turnover. Whereas this is bringing in taxing you on your.
Well, they're taxing you on your net profit, aren't they? But they're redefining how your net profit is determined.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think there could be any possibility of a legal challenge further down the line from somebody?
I think it's hard to know. I think there are some quite horrific stories in the papers about people who've got, and we gave that example of one property where it's going to cost them £700. Yeah, you've got 40 properties. That's an awful lot of money. Yeah, so it might be worth spending a bit of money with solicitors, and putting a challenge together. Yeah? Because of the money that they're going to get from this, I can't see them budging. They'll fight it all the way. Right, guys, that's it. Jeremy's telling me time's up. Thank you very much. I'm around all night, so if you want to buy me a beer and ask me questions, I'm more than happy to help. Thank you very much. Hope you found it useful.